For those of you who don't know, it's prime time. We have the most amazing Kasa tribe member in the house today. He's ready to share so much with us. He's going to walk us through some business, some real estate. He's ready to share so much with us. So before we get in, I'm just going to bring everybody into the studio. I've got Prime in the house. I've got Ifya Boy in the house. Guys, welcome to the show. It's prime time. I did not lie. I was bringing you Prime live in the studio. So this is the Casa podcast. And let me give you a little introduction so that you know why I'm picking my pen and paper. So Prime GH is one of the most amazing people I've met. He has done quite a bit in this very short time, right? Running his own stuff, setting up his own businesses, both in Ghana and in Canada, which is amazing. Like he knows the best of both worlds, right? And so today we're going to learn. We're here for a business class. Tell us a little bit about, starting out, especially career-wise, and then why you decided to transition into your own thing.
All right, no problem. See, I worked in the mental health social work sector at first when I came out of college. My undergrad is actually in disability studies, and then I did minor in business as well. Obviously, in disability studies, it's all about protecting individuals who are marginalized from not just being disabled, but having madness and even the queer community as well. So we talked about a little bit about policy, changing the thinking. And then I also dive into working in the sector, like working in the district school board, helping at-risk youth, helping the youth who have behaviors, autism, the whole broad sector. So I was advising youth how to behave, how to manage themselves, how they can best be successful in the school. In doing that, you came across a lot of parents as well, which also gave you a better understanding of some of the socio-economical dynamics that influence kids' behavior at school. While I was doing that, this perhaps could be a way for me to dive into some type of business in the future. If I can think about providing some type of consultation, helping parents get information of places where they can access resources to best support themselves, their family, and any of their socioeconomical issues they're facing. And so career-wise, that's where it started off. That's pretty much it. Working in the skill board. I worked there for about 8 years or so.
For 8 years?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And then you decided to just walk away?
I did it more. It was more of a slow transition.
Okay.
So I decided to start it on a part-time basis first. Even though it was part-time, but I was working full-time really. So when I say full-time, as soon as you finish work, you put in a lot of work, like trying to drive up all the details. At first, the plan was to access a loan to be able to start the business. So I would apply to youth programs where you can get maybe $30,000. And I was writing these business plans myself, so I don't think I was doing a good job. So I'll send it, and they'll send it back, and like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this. And then at one point, I spoke to a guy who was very successful in business and asked him, what do you think? He's like, like if you don't think you really need the money, forget about the money. Write a one-page business plan for yourself and just start. And then as you go, you learn along the line, right?
Wonderful. So, listen, you're pouring so much on us at the same, like at once. Honestly, learning business from Prime is like drinking from a fire hose. Like it's just there's so much stuff just being thrown at me. You mentioned something that a lot of young people and personally myself, it holds us back from venturing into business. We know writing a business plan is amazing. It's necessary to have a business plan before you set up. But most of us want that 10-page business plan with a flow chart, with a business cycles and the models, and we never get to do that, right? For you, how long did it take you to write this one-page business plan?
Not long, because I had already written some business plan just for going to Google and looking at sample of business plans, right? Because I was trying to access loans at the beginning, so I just modified it. I already had the details written basically for myself. I didn't get the financing, so I was just able to pick the main details that was required to start the business, right? So I need insurance. Okay, how can I access insurance? Where can I get insurance? Once I got the insurance, and it's all started with word of mouth and just direct email and sending emails to places where I can potentially get contract. And then that was just the start. And then it was a long time where I never got any calls, nothing happened. The first year was like practically zero, like nothing. So in a way, it's like you're running a business, but no business is really happening.
Coming
But
in.
yes.
I was just about to ask you how you financed your whole business the first year, because practically you were not making enough money to just quit your job and then do it the first year. So how did you start? Because most of them we think you need a lot of money to start a business. That's actually true. But then since you didn't get a loan, how did you finance your business the first year?
So the first year is basically my working capital. Instead of the money I was saving in a normal situation, I decided I'm going to use the money to pay for the main expense of the business, which is insurance.
Okay.
Right? In this country, in like Canada, America, the main thing that really matters the most is making sure your legal stuff is taken care of. And in this type of business is your insurance. So I cut out certain expenses that would normally be used and just say, I'm going to use this money to pay for the insurance. And I realized that was the main thing I required. And also, once I got some people working for me, I needed money to come in. It was a struggle to get money coming in quick. So I was using my own savings to pay for the workers until my customers paid me.
Paid you.
Yeah. So I used that strategy to be able to fund the business in the early stage. By that time, our volume wasn't too high. So it was a funny thing. I need a lot of work to make money. But if I get too much work, I will not be able to manage it. So it was like I was pushing it. I was marketing, but I wasn't marketing too strongly.
Much.
Yeah, it's where I'll get overwhelmed with the work I can't handle, because if I can't handle the work, my whole reputation is dead. So I had to find a way to build steadily and slowly until I was able to get my finances in situation.
We're going to get a little into that refinance conversation. Again, we're talking to Prime. Prime is an amazing businessman. He's done this over and over again, started businesses in so many countries, right? Gained the experience, and today he's sharing it with us here at the Kasa podcast. Prime, you mentioned something, and I want listeners to get back to that. Building that email list or a contact list for your business when you're starting out. It seemed to be very helpful because, like you were saying, you're pushing out the emails, even though you're not getting anything, you're pushing that out. How important is it as a young person trying to start out in business, starting your own thing? How important is building these connections, reaching out to people, especially before the avalanche comes in, before the work just comes pouring in? Starting out, how important is it to build that contact list?
It's everything. It's all networking, right? A lot of our work and our opportunities came from just referrals, really. And in the beginning, I spent so much time where we'll print flyers, walk to places that were related to our business, dropping flyers off. And in reality, that brought us nowhere.
Nothing.
Yeah, it was actually the good contacts we built over the years, those that we built good relationship with, when we send our emails, that eventually connected us to potential opportunities, right? So I think building just a network team is number one to anything you're planning to do. If you, for instance, if you Kojo has opportunity, right, and you're getting an email, but then somebody close to you recommends somebody they know, naturally you're more likely to take that person's referral more closer, because if something was to go wrong, you can reference. You have a reference. Then just go with any no random person. So that's why it's so important for me to build a network and build good relationship, keep contacts with people, and because you just never know when you need that person again, right? Exactly. So be careful the reputation you build, the way you talk to someone, because you never know when you're going to come across some of these individuals again.
That's amazing. How important was it? I know you were saying you were afraid at the beginning to even get way too much business. Did you ever worry about having too much business affecting the quality of work you do? Was it ever a worry?
Yes, it was definitely a worry, right? So that's why we didn't overly market too much. We wanted to take the work that we believe we can handle and do a really, really good job to set a foundation. Because we felt like once we provide quality services, the quality service will sell itself and then eventually provide us more opportunities. Hopefully by the time those opportunities come, we'll be more prepared in terms of like all the resources to support the services. And in a way, that's what happened, right? So it was a slow process, but I think the slow process in the long run was the best way for us. Focus on quality rather than quantity. Yes, and once the quality does its job, then you can now focus on building the quantity to match the quality. Because if you went quality first, I think our quality would have suffered, and in turn, our business probably wouldn't have grown and be as successful as it is right now. Yeah,
amazing. Let's get into raising money. I think you used a very unique way to raise money for your business. Do you mind sharing or getting into that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, first, I learned that like the business for itself didn't need money. Right? There are certain businesses that will require a lot of capital. So when I was doing my research to go into business, I try to stay away from certain businesses that required so much capital. For instance, I need money to go build a building before I can start the business. Like, when am I going to get the money to build a building? Plus the time it will take me to finish the building. It's just so much time. So there's other businesses you can dive in that don't always require a lot of money to start, but might have a lot of potential. So this business I went in didn't require a lot of money to start if my customers paid me in time. Right? So I was using my own money sometimes in the beginning because the volume wasn't that high, right? But once the volume picked up, there's so many ways that you can access resources in terms of money, right? Sometimes you can just apply for a normal loan. But the challenge that I faced, whereas sometimes people in Ghana may think we don't face over here, they think you can just go to a bank and they will give you a loan. When I went to the beginning to try to get a loan, because the business had no history or no reputation, they just turned me down all the time. So that wasn't happening. Another way you can do is you go to family members and friends to try to borrow money, but that brings a lot of challenges, right? Most people don't trust, they don't believe in you, which sometimes you do experience when you're setting up a business. You're like, yeah, people talk like I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, but they don't really do it. So then I figured, well, if I'm going to fund this, I got to fund it myself. So that's why I never left my job right away to go fully into the business. My working income allowed me to fund the business in the beginning. So once it grew, right, because I had a collateral, I had a house, right, or some type of equity into something, I was now able to say, let me go to the bank and ask them if I'm in the position to refinance my home, right? So I went, and luckily our home had grew in equity, right? So equity means you bought something for say $100,000, right? And after 3 or 4 years, now they're telling you that it's worth $150,000. So all of a sudden we've grew 50,000 in equity. So there was some money for us to be able to access, right? So we were able to put it in, refinance the home, pull out say $40,000 and say we're going to put it towards the business in terms of putting some of our basic infrastructures in place and also having resources to ensure that our staff and our employees are paid on time to be able to maintain a good reputation. Put that at the front. Like we also had to fake it till we make it. Right? Yeah, we had to brand ourselves as if we're as big as the big corporations who are selling and making millions in sales like monthly even. Right? You have to make the customer think you can provide services to the same level as them. So we made sure our website looked professional. Right? We then looked into having a phone call system. So when you call, thank you for calling Roxy Family Care Services. So then, right, we found that it wasn't that expensive to do these things, right? You look good on the outside to them, right? It look like it's a high wall-run corporation, well-written. Our website information is well-written. Everything looks well-branded. But meanwhile, we're nowhere. I'm still working my part-time job to stay afloat. Meanwhile, these companies are well-established, making millions a year. But the customer and I thinks we're on the same level.
You're on the same level.
But Kujo, I'm actually glad he talked about branding, right? Because that is one thing a lot of people forgo when they're doing business. They don't consider how it it will look to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Because as much as possible, you don't want to look like, oh, we just started.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't give you that credibility. Like people don't believe in you like they are supposed to.
Yep.
So I think it's good you mention it. Like we should really put a lot into branding and marketing it as if, yes, this is the top number one, you know, company you can get something from. And people don't, even with representation, like not marketing, like how you look, how you talk, how you present everything, you know, because it's like, oh, we just started. So they try to use that excuse not to present their business properly. But I'm glad you touched on that.
Interesting. Like if you're saying, it's good you mentioned it, right? Because sometimes people even try to sell themselves short, especially when they're trying to raise cash. If you're trying to get someone to give you money, no matter how large or small the money is, you have to look presentable. Presenting yourself well, and then listen, putting up a good front. The outside should look good at least. Else nobody's putting their money in it.
What are the qualities you need to have to actually start a business? Is it difficult doing a business as compared to being in a 9 to 5? The flexibility, like basically comparing the two.
So I mean, I always say this in life. I think everybody's just trying to buy time. Sometimes you think of is the money, but what you're really trying to buy is time to be able to do what you want, right? So you can buy time both ways, right? If you work a 9 to 5, your focus is 9 to 5. Once my 9 to 5, learn to just cut off the work. Now the rest of my day or rest of my time is mine. There's a lot of quality in that. And a lot of people, you can enjoy amazing life just being that simple and not burden yourself the stress of running a business, right? If you go into business, especially in the beginning, you're practically working 24 hours
a day,
right? So now you have lost time, but your goal is in the long run, you'll be able to build flexibility on your time. Now, because I am the person that owns this, when and what to do when you want to do now, because you have that control, right?
Oh man, it's been amazing. It's been wonderful having Prime on the show. We've enjoyed speaking business, speaking strategy. It's been amazing from the Kasa podcast. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe.